All right. Welcome everyone to the Betterment Broadcast. Very cool. Let me just close some of these windows. I have loads of windows open at the moment. Trying to do some slight researching for our topic. As tradition, let me open up the fantastic PDF, which I have to now find. Let me check, make sure sound is good. Voila, excellent. Very good topic we've got today. Very good topic. For those who don't know, this month and last month, because it's very important, we were specializing and focusing on the Black woman, because as you all know, the Black woman is very important, and I think everyone agrees with that. So we're going to focus on Black women issues, and because of Black women issues, it's up to Black women to come up with them. I, not being a Black woman, cannot come up with the topics. It is chosen by the viewers and discussed by the viewers who come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the PDF. Give me 17 seconds, and see if I can find it. It's open for you. There we go. Today is the 25th show. Where's my PDF? It looks like it didn't compress. All right, it's InDesign for you. Let me do that again. Technology. All right, let's see if we can compress that. Well, it says it has here, but let's do it one more time. Show 25. Oh, because it's in the wrong folder. Filing. All right, so if you're in the group, just say hi, just so we know you're here. People don't know the format. Generally, we have a nice intro talk by myself, and then I send out a link for people who wish to talk. Ultimately, one of the things with the Betterment Broadcast is we're trying to encourage people who don't normally talk, who might feel like it's not really a world to actually express themselves, to actually give them more confidence. So just more of a platform to say stuff. I understand that also when it comes to talking, sometimes when you look at like big debates, it gets very heavy-handed, very loud. And we're going to try to have a control of that. But anyway, I found the fantastic file. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to click on this. 17 seconds. Voila. Where are you? There we are. You're there. All right. So I believe you press share. Yep. So far, so good. Yep. Make sure you turn it off. Makes sense. Find it. What is it called? Interesting. I can't. It is open. Maybe it hasn't registered. No, it can't be that one. That's funny. Let me try that again. One more share. Sorry, family. This is technology. We have difficulties that are technical. Boom, bam, Put a smiley face in the forum so people know. Voila. You guys have had a fantastic week this week, looking after your family, doing productive stuff, trying to practice Black Betterment. Share. Here we go. Let's try it one more time. Share screen. Maybe they've stopped the ability. Oh, because it's actually an application. That's why it's not actually a window. You see, you got to understand this technical stuff. Look at that. It works. Fantastic. It's always good when things work. My life was a collection of things that didn't work. So when things work, it's good. Now, here we go. So Betterment Broadcast. So let's go through this. Let's go to what we do culturally every week, just to make sure people remember. Never forget. Let's do this. So, boom, boom, boom. All right. So, after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently Black people are collectively inadequate. Yes, very, very challenging thing there, but whatever. We're going to try to go through it. So, so that's what's going on. After much research, we've established that. So, we're going to try to see if we can do something about it. Now, when we try to discuss some of these very strong, serious issues we're going to talk about, if we can uphold the 4D values, which are, let's see what they are. Let me just make sure I click on read mode so you get more of the screen. Okay, more slides, bigger. Yeah, discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. Very important stuff. As we're communicating, if we can use these discipline, these values, these pillar values, we can use them. This will help us try to find solutions to Black challenges. Now, let's go on. Have I skipped some? I might have skipped some stuff here. Yes. Can using descriptive language instead of derogatory language help Black people stay better on topic? Right. So obviously, as we get further on, we start getting deeper to the conversations. Sometimes people get might be very passionate, very close to anxiety and certain kind of issues. So we can make sure we try to use descriptive language over derogatory language. And here's some of some stuff that people might use back and forth back in the days and stuff. More so towards this side rather than this side. This side, So this will help us. Blessings, all blessings. Yep, let me put that on to show it. Voila, there you go. Everyone say blessings to Sister Kushti. Amazing business she's starting. Very good speaker, very, very good contributor. Support of Black Betterment. Excellent. Now, What is Black Betterment? For those who don't know, those who are new or passing through, here's what we do. It's Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. That's what it is. Very important thing. It's taking responsibility. Unfortunately, as time goes by, some Black people start depending on other people for solutions, and history tells us that that's not going to happen. And if it does happen, there's always going to come with some kind of connection, kind of hitch, some kind of something where it's never straightforward. And we're not going to go into that now, but there is a value in Black people helping Black people on Black issues. Voila! Now that means that Black betterment is a lifestyle. So yes, when we're trying to help Black people, it is a lifestyle. That's what it is. It's a lifestyle. We are promoting the lifestyle of Black betterment. Great solution, isn't it? Voila! Now, we've got two topics this week. Two topics. The first one is, if a Black woman's son is not successful in any area of life, how much blame should she take responsibility for? That's something that we could all have an opinion on that, but we want to hear what the Black ladies say about that. Is there any responsibilities for Black women? Like, there are some challenges. Sometimes they're two-parent households, which we definitely promote, but sometimes, for whatever reason, it might be a one-parent household, and then you have the mother taking 100% responsibilities in the household, at least, and sometimes, many times, in overall anyway. And sometimes, the son, might fall short in many areas of life, many. And then we say, okay, well, how much percent of the blame do we give to the mother in that situation? I suspect as a community, we will give blame to the father who wasn't there, as should be. Why weren't you there? That's another story. But then, how much of a blame do we give to the mother, if any at all? Is that something we talk about? I think it is. So if you're a Black woman, you have Black children, or you are yourself a Black child, and you have an opinion on this, I will give out the link very soon after my intro, and you can talk on this issue. I won't speak on it unless I'm prodded to. But the next topic is something that I might go into a bit more before we hand out the link, and that is, what is it? What are Black women's views on pro-Black male leaders who do not pick Black women as partners and wives? So, what are the views? So, it goes on, and we have to break this thing down, because this word of pro-Black leaders, what is to be pro-Black, and more importantly, in this context, what does it mean to be a leader? That's something that we need to review. But yeah, how do Black women feel about that? And there's our history of that, but we can talk about that. So where do we go from there? So these are the two topics. I'll leave this on the screen. In a bit, but as I go through, let's break down certain things. So the term marriage squeeze refers to an imbalance between the number of men and women available to marry in a certain society. So some of the challenges we might face is, for certain reasons, if you want a community to find partnerships, some of them might suffer or go through what they call marriage squeeze, where the imbalances is not correct. And there's many reasons why that might be, and I suspect we might talk about many of them today. But this is something that we're going to go through. All right, okay, so move on. What does pro-Black mean? Well, this is an interesting thing. What does it mean? Does anyone know? Could you let me know? What does pro-Black mean? If you Google it, even though Google isn't going to be the source of all information, you actually won't find a consistent or any kind of like established viewpoint. So I would say whoever it was, the coin of the phrase should come forward, because the coiners are important. The people who follow the coinage, they should come forward and break that down. My understanding, and it might vary, is pro-Black meaning you're pro-Black progression. You want economic forward behavior and romantic forward behavior, but maybe some people look past the romantic forward behavior, and maybe, I don't know. That's why it's very important, and that's why this broadcast talks about Black betterment. Now, what is Black betterment? Black betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues. Now, I was very careful when I went out in the world. Well, I made a distinction between Black betterers and Black betterment builders. And just for those who don't know, let's break it down. A Black betterer is a Black person who wants to help Black people and be constructive in all areas of people activity whenever it's constructively possible. And that includes partnerships. So if you want to progress with your people, it makes sense to be a Black betterer, to make sure you pick a black woman and a black wife. That's the thing. However, some people will find themselves not in that boat for many reasons, which I'm sure they'll come and discuss. For them, they will not be seen as black betterers. They will be seen as black betterment builders if they are in particular areas building certain kind of institutions. So if a person who hasn't taken a black wife or isn't really connected in other ways decides that they want to make an effort to fix a black issue, then in that issue, they are black betterment builders. They might not themselves be black betterers, but in that issue, they're black betterment builders, and they should be referred to and give the credit as such. Right. Now, one of the challenges black people face, and many people, but this focus black people, is a lack of value for definition, a lack of value. And this is the challenge that we face as a people. We don't value definitions. And usually it's because we want to be very wishy-washy with concepts, which is very understandable. I understand stuff, right? But I always use veganism as an example. It's a very good example. And I would encourage you all to use it to your, when you are discussing these black issues with black people. And the reason is because sometimes we talk to black people, what they confess isn't really what's going on in the back of their mind. So the reason why I use veganism is as follows. A vegan, and is ultimately, I'll say, someone who wants, a good planet for all and this kind of stuff. But when you break it down as today's definitions, it's not harming animals, pretty much, not eating, wearing, killing animals, and trying to minimize that. And the people will go deeper on that, but let's just break it down as that, right? So you wouldn't be able to go up to a vegan and go, well, hold on. What if I was to, eat a burger, but when I'm eating the burger, I'm smiling? Or what if before I kill the horse, I give him a name, and I make sure that the death is as clean as possible. They go, oh yeah, that's fine, but that's not a vegan. So you might even be very nice when you eat your burger with a smile on your face, but that's not vegan. And this is the kind of response we should have when it comes to defining things in the black community. So I can't actually tell you what pro-black means because I wasn't a coiner, but my understanding of it, is one thing. But I do fully understand black betterment because it's something that I push forward and it's something that I'm coining. So I'm saying that with black betterment, in order to be a black betterer, you will pick someone of the same group, a black person, because you're trying to build black issues. You're trying to fix it, right? But that doesn't mean if you're not with a black person, you can't help black people. But it just means that that definition is no longer available. But there are other definitions, just like you can be a very life-loving person, but you're not a vegan. Or you could be a very animal-friendly person, but you're not a vegan. And it works in definitions. Definitions matter because one of the challenges with black people is we're easily confused. And you tend to find that confusion is one of our biggest challenges. And, it's very hard to get around confusion. That's why definitions are important, political definitions are very important, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I put there. Now, to the whole, let's see if we can find the question. Where is that question? All right. So let's break down the marriage squeeze. So the marriage squeeze with and also I'm very aware that many black women, because it's a black women focus, might feel slightly intimidated to actually bring up issues about black love and loyalty and these kind of questions. And a lot of the black men you find will not necessarily be that way inclined, or if the ones who are, they'll be so militant that maybe a lot of the points will be missed and the nuances might not actually be gone. So hopefully I can be used as an arbiter or something to actually get this across. So what you find is, many challenges you might find in the black community, and a lot of the black women are well aware of the challenges that a lot of the black men face, and this is all over the world, but in particular cities as well. And some of them might be, I actually wrote this down, but I didn't put it on the sheet, which is shame on me twice. But let me see if I write it down so I can read it out. Have I deleted it completely? I probably have, but my photographic memory won't let me down. Right, so we can break down areas. So when you talk about activities and stuff, you have obviously black men when it comes to education, black men when it comes to success, black men when it comes to mental health, black men when it comes to education. I've said education, I probably did, right? Anyway, all these things, the black men will face many, many challenges, right? So that might actually minimize the, the likelihood that some men might be in the right condition to find a partner, or a suitable partner. And then you have some challenges where some women, some black women, they also themselves are looked on very disfavorably by many people, unfortunately, but fortunately for black people, for black men, sorry to say. So then, black women, as well as loyalty, find themselves having a very particular, only one direction option, which is very good for black men, which is black men. But if black men are not in the right condition, then it lowers the pool which they can draw from. So if then that small pool is then not interested and not or have other options, then you'll find that black women ultimately will suffer in that scenario, as in not being able to find a partner and all these kinds of stuff, which is obviously never nice, right? So that's going on there as well. That's something that I suspect some people are going to talk about. Options. What are available. Also, the next one is I was looking up some data, and I think it came from the Merkel, the Queen's Margaret Merkel. I'm bad with names. I should know this stuff. Everyone knows the names, but the lady who's married in the royal family, Mrs. Merkel, whatever, right? Morgan Merkel. So some player. What is the name? Come on, man. Where's the supporters? Say greetings to everyone. Yeah, whatever the princess's name is, that name. Yeah, the mixed heritage black lady who married into the royal family, and for some probably reasons of racism had to leave and went to America, something like that. Anyway, someone was doing some kind of analysis on that, and they were saying that obviously her being of mixed heritage, whatever. They were saying that in the UK, many women or mixed children, especially women, whatever. Meghan Merkel, there you go. Look at that. This is what we talk about, teamwork. And it's the black women as well, always on point. This is why you have to have black women around you, always on point. Now, one is saying that when you find mixed heritage children, mixed black children, you tend to find that in a certain capacity they might go for white partners. The offspring will then go for white partners. So in theory, what you're saying is, as much as you say you might love being black and everything black and these kinds of things, and you're trying to fix black aesthetic and black representation, essentially as you go down the phenotypically and culturally and connection wise, you are pushing yourself further away from black. So these are the things. And also it is very hypocritical for you to take a non-black partner and then put strong pressure on your children to take a black partner when you haven't done that, and they don't see that in their mother or father. But in this case, it'll be father, because we're speaking from the perspective of the black woman, not vice versa. That will be another time. But this week it is black men, So that's another thing. And then people start talking about the whole economic stuff, like, if you want to really build your economics, your first business partner would be your wife, and if your wife is from the community, all that kind of stuff. So this is, these are very, very interesting topics, and they are what's on black women's mind, hence why they requested them. I hope I haven't been waffling for too long. What I'm going to do is I will just carry on just speaking, because it's interesting. One thing that we have to understand is when I start this show, I say that black people are collectively inadequate, and if there's one thing I want people to know about Ravenfall, when it comes, not the creative stuff and the acting and the music of the past, that nonsense, I'm talking more so of in the days of me trying to push black Burman. I want people to remember me as someone who's really trying to push black Burman. And from the black Burman, if you want one quote that is really important, and one quote that I truly do believe will help black people, it's this quote here, yeah? After much research, I have unfortunately concluded that currently black people are collectively inadequate. And the reason I say this is because when it comes to racial challenges and betterment amongst people groups that's been identified, it's only black people that seem to get this kind of marriage thing wrong, really, or just make it an issue in general. Other groups don't seem to get that mistake at all. They understand the importance of upholding black men and black men upholding black women, these kind of stuff. But we don't get it, and then we have philosophies around it, and then they say things like colorblind. And I understand that love as a concept, you can say it's colorblind. But the problem is the only people who might be colorblind are black people, and in this context, black men, because black men tend to do certain things at a higher rate than other men. So that means that this colorblind philosophy isn't necessarily true, and it might be a form of inadequacy. You see, it might be because we're collectively inadequate. That it's just like pimp culture, prostitute culture, stripping culture, drug selling culture. You find yourself doing these things, however it might be. But then what we do is we then like romanticize it, and we put it in forms of philosophies and stuff, and we make it like it's normal and it's cool and stuff. And doing something is one thing, but making it normal and trying to really redefine it, that's stuff we have to really think about. So It's like marriage isn't just a whimsical love, and I don't think whimsical love is something we should say, because once again, if you want to discuss the concept of self-hatred, unfortunately, after much research, and I think most of us would agree through our own research, that the collective group known as Black people might be one of the people who have one of the highest forms of low self-esteem and collective low self-esteem and self-hatred, which is something we know about. And when you have a people group who have this way of processing information, lack of in certain areas, and you have a people group who are completely, at the are not necessarily controlling any kind of narrative on a greater scale, and are subjected to taking other people's definitions of the world and of themselves. To tell me that these people within this group can actually make sound decisions based upon collective betterment or love or interest, I do question that. And that's a debate we should have, and I think that is once again part of the collective inadequacies that we go through. And that's why we're trying to tackle it on this actual show. So let me find this fantastic link. Where's that fantastic link? There it is. 24. It's not 24, is it? Or maybe it is. That's that one. There it is. All right. Okay, great. We'll put that in the group. Remember, guys, this is Women's Month, Black Women's Month. We're very particular because we must always define. And so everyone's welcome, but we want to give priority to Black women, as we should be doing in general anyway. In many situations, the two topics of this week are: if a Black woman's son is not successful in any area of life, how much blame should she take responsibility for? And topic 2: what are Black women's views on pro-Black male leaders who do not pick Black women as partners and wives? Now, I do ask that if anyone's going to join, please try to maintain the code of conduct that we have, which is let's not use derogative language if we can. But remember, even if we go at a slow pace, learning how to communicate and to minimize anxiety is a victory. It's a victory because as a people who I'm identified as collectively inadequate, knowing how to communicate these very, very, very strong topics is very important. It might take some time, but as long as we want to get there, we'll get there. Yeah. So let's remember that. And let's remember that. Now, going back to the links out there, if anyone wants to join, you're welcome. And these are the two questions. But yeah, I think if you were to go on to search, pro-Blackness, two things always come up. Interesting there. You'll get, does pro-Black mean anti-white, right? And then, can a pro-Black person date a white person? So when you see this as the constant result, this is showing you about collective inadequacism, right? Because when it comes to trying to really deal with certain issues, these are the ones that we as people want to talk about. That is becoming like the prominent thing with pro-Black. Does pro-Black mean anti-white? So once again, the definition and the top headliner is, how do non-Black people feel about Black people doing whatever they want to do? And then, is it okay if Black people start families and businesses and progression concepts with non-Black people? So whichever way you flip it, it shows you that as a people, our priorities are very questionable. And hopefully through intelligent discussion, debates, back and forths, we can change the narrative and interject a new way of processing information. And remember the advice I'm giving you, that when you are having definitions are important. And the example I give you is vegans. I tell you, I will use the vegan definition in all walks of life because it's perfect. When a person says, am I vegan if I eat a cow? You're not a vegan. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're not a vegan. So you cannot claim that, you see? And what we have with Black people is we want to be able to do everything and claim a title. Everything. Let's do every single thing we can to have a title. You know what I mean? Can I be pro-Black and hate Black people? I don't know. Maybe. Can I be pro-Black and not marry a Black woman? I don't know. Maybe. Can I be pro-Black and deliberately try to shut down Black businesses? I don't know. Can you? I mean, to the point where, what does it mean to be pro-Black? I don't know. I can't answer that because I wasn't the coiner of the phrase. But whoever was, they're out there. If you don't mind jumping in the show, then we won't mind having a conversation with you. We don't mind at all. Right. So those are the two questions. Now, the first one I'm not going to really talk on because that really is down to black women. But if a black woman's son is not successful in any area of life, how much blame should she take responsibility for? And then that can be broken down. The question is, what is it? What is it that let's create a scenario where this woman is alone with a child and the husband isn't there, then the husband isn't there. And many people could argue that technically the the father has chosen to move. So we're going on that concept that now the man has to be blamed for not being there. He can't interject some of his knowledge and wisdom. So there is blame pushed upon him. Some might say, why did you pick such a man to have children with if he wasn't stable? That's something that we can discuss, of course. So maybe a percentage of blame and choice, maybe. Some might disagree, Some might say that some women naturally are kind. There are many women who are naturally kind, and with their kindness, they might do what they call coddling of some young boys. We don't know. We have Sister Kushti in the group. Hi, is it Sister Kushti? Welcome, Sister.
Blessings.
Blessings. Can you hear me? We can hear you, man. And if you dip out, we'll let you know. But I think we can hear you at the moment. Right.
Okay. Blessings.
Blessings. Right. So yeah. So we have two topics today, sister. As you can see, topic one: if a black woman's son is not successful in any area of life, how much blame should she take responsibility for? That's topic one. And topic two, which is one we see quite a lot historically. What are black women's views on pro-black male leaders who do not pick black women as partners and wives? Do you have any kind of information or insight or angles on any of these two topics?
Yeah, the pro-black one is an interesting one, especially when you said about coining the word. I think that's a good point. I mean, I don't know who ever brought up who invented the pro-black title. But I think, like you said, everyone's got their own kind of interpretation of it. I genuinely just thought that the interpretation of it is literally someone who's progressively for the black betterment of black people, which would be, I think that's when it comes to a bit of a contradiction when if you're talking about black families and you don't necessarily have a black family, like you chose that your partner in life is not a black woman, but then if you're a leader and you're talking to black people and talking about black families and things like that, that could be a big contradiction, because a leader is supposed to be someone who leads with their actions also.
Yes. Very agreeable. I agree with that concept. Yes. But if you were to not that you should get all your opinions from obviously Google search or YouTube or whatever, but when this topic comes up, there seems to be much confusion about it, and you do get a lot of people who are who feel that maybe you can be a pro-black, pro-dominant person, whatever, or just a pro-black person in general, and still date and marry and cohabit within a house or live with or have children with and this kind of stuff, non-black people, and specifically usually what comes up is white people, which is an interesting conversation. White people of all the others, but yeah, that's interesting. The reasons given then undermines the concept or the definitions of the word pro-black, and that's why as a word we will need to get someone to come and really say here's what it means, to be pro-black.
Definitely, especially when you gave the example of the veganism. I think that's so on point. Do you know what I mean? You can claim that you're for animals and things like that, but if you're a vegan, there's a strict policy or code to go by. Do you know what I mean? And there's no getting around it. So if you're pro-black and you're talking about black families and black family first, and then your spouse, which like you said is initially like your first business partner and stuff, is not black, then you want to preach to black people. It's a bit of a contradiction.
Yeah, I understand that, and definitely, I mean, unfortunately with many of these shows, it is like the preacher to the choir. And one thing I am interested in is to hear the perspective of other people who might have a different opinion, just to hear them. Just to see, the mindset of how people process information, because unfortunately, with black people, like I said before, there is a lot of reshaping and adjustment, and a lot of this is psychological. It's done to make sure that a person feels good in their skin. And I think we need to kind of frame how we view information. So we understand that in life there is a bar, and the concept of the bar is something we either raise to or we don't, but we can never bring that bar down. You see, and I think black people say that black people might not necessarily master many things, but I think one thing that what black people do collectively that we've mastered is we've mastered the art of bringing the bar down. We've mastered it. I don't think there's any people who can do better than black people when it comes to the art and mastery of complete taking the bar down and redefining things to make us feel good. You see?
Yeah, to justify it, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm saying that let us re-review that concept and let's leave the bar there and let's just give ourselves different names or raise ourselves to that bar. Also, sometimes you have to look at things holistically. You have to look at how things knock onto each other, right? So rather than looking at, if in this context it's the black man, looking out to non-black women, but let's look at it from the perspective of how does a black woman feel, especially through many journeys of in history. The black woman amongst the collective was in many aspects the most loyal amongst the black people, right? So what are you doing in this collective betterment concept to make that black woman feel good in your actions and speech? This is something, and this is Afro Beauty saying people confuse pro humanity with pro black. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that is a form of confusion. I think purpose is important. I also, when I was listening to a lot of these discussions, people will shout certain words like racism and very interesting words. And people have uttered that word towards some debates I've been in. Very fascinating stuff. And I think to start a conversation and not understand the purpose and the reasoning, black people are already started by, I've identified that are collectively inadequate at this point. So you are not looking at equal playing ground. You're not looking at equal history. The necessity of black people having a collective pride and collective self-esteem and collective unity and cohesion and stuff is because of a history of complete turmoil, a history, very unfavorable history, to the point where if you were to talk about the collective realities of black people for the last couple 100 years to one individual who didn't know, you could completely horrify that person and leave them really in a bad place in life. It is a lot, and I don't know if some of these black individuals study history or care to, or they're just willfully ignorant. I don't know, but it is very important that you have a context and a reason. So the reason why black men should love black women and black women should love black men, constructive black women and constructive black men, is because it's a very good idea for betterment. It is one of the most helpful things that when you talk about progression that people can do. Yeah. We want to, let's just say that if I was talking to an individual, here's how I talk to people. If I was talking to an individual, I would look at, say, a black man, and I would say, I don't know you, black man, but I'm going to assume you're the world's greatest black man. All right. And if you say you confess you are pro-black, whatever that means, or you're a black bearer, or you want to practice black betterment, then I say you are the world's greatest man. So that means by you not being for black women, you are depriving black people of one of the greatest resources, you see? You understand? So that's really making people understand it. Now, this is a collective template speech I give you. I'm giving collective template speeches. I do not know the unique ins and outs of everyone's individual journey. I don't know, right? And I don't care to know, and I don't use that as any kind of benchmark. Like just like a vegan, it's like, I was trapped on the top of a mountain. There was no plants and there was a dead cow and I was starving to death. Like, that kind of stuff. I'm sure it goes on, but I'm not reviewing that unique kind of situation. I'm not reviewing that. I'm talking about as a concept, constructive black men looking, protecting, raising, and being around constructive black women is definitely something that is going to heighten the chances of collective betterment. That's just what it is. So if that correlates with pro-blackness, then so be it. Anything else, Sister Kushti? Obviously, I'm talking too much. It really is Women's Month, so let me stop talking.
No, I agree with a lot of what you said there, and I just do think that we need to be have more clarity on
Right.
things, so that things don't skip through the ropes and things like that. So
Mm.
I do think that with less clarity, then that's when the confusion sets in,
Right.
which
Right.
we can see now. And I think that, yeah, you're right. We need a bit more clarity with that. And a lot of our people will use a lot of that excuse. I'm pro humanity. Like to say, if you just focus on having a black man or a black woman, it means you're not pro humanity. Like to say you just hate everybody else on the human race, which
Mm.
is just ridiculous. Or you're a
Mm.
racist. Or they'll use some of our leaders previous who have had white wives as well. So I think there's a lot that gets done, like you said, to kind of ease the ego for those to
Mm.
make justification to do it. I think as a black woman, if I was going to go to a black, is it Betterment or a
Yeah.
pro-black person, and
Mm.
they are speaking as a leader and they're talking
Mm.
about black families, I don't think I could necessarily take them seriously if they don't have a black partner
Mm.
as a black
Yes.
woman. I just couldn't, because there's so much that happens in that is unique to us as a black couple that
Mm.
you can't possibly lead or guide me into if you just don't have a clue of that.
Very, very interesting point. Very interesting point. And that is a very true view for you. Is there anyone out there as well? You're able to jump in the links in the link for you to give your opinion. Um, what is it? What obviously there's the individual case of why someone ends up with someone, which we can't know. They have to give their own testimony. But what do you think might be going on when it comes to the percentage wise? Because it has been reported that black men, historically more so, but I'm sure still the same today. I don't know that black men seem to be uh, looking outside of black women for partners and then wives and this kind of stuff, much at a higher rate than anyone else. Why do you think anyone knows why that might be going on? Anyone understand of what do you feel as a woman that might be motivating that? Does it ever cross your mind? I guess you are here, Sister Christian, so I'm asking you, but have you ever thought about the where that comes from, if it comes from anywhere at all?
I think if you ask individuals, they'll just say this is the person I fell in love with
Mm,
and things like that. I think that comes up a lot. I
mm,
think from others, from like if you speak to someone who is actually actively pro black or black betterment, they'd say it'd be
mm,
like social conditioning, especially when you're
mm,
in Western countries. I think you find
mm,
that much more than you would do with countries back home, for example, which
mm,
says a lot. You see more examples of it, and perhaps all the media that you're getting seen and the standards of beauty might be of yourself if you're in your own country compared to being in Western country, who will naturally highlight their own women, and you
mm,
might get sucked into that. You know,
mm. Yes, yes. So I think I said mentioned something that before, where I was saying that even though you're making a choice, in the back of your subconscious mind, how much of your choice being heavily influenced by something else, by other algorithms, other promotions and agendas that might not correlate with black people, might not necessarily work in black people's interests. So how many, how do we know? Where do we see the signs? All we can do is look.
exactly.
Yeah, like when someone says, it's their preferences or it's what they love, how do we know that we haven't been completely compromised and fed a new reality to which, if we're not aware of it, how do we know it's happening?
Well, this is
Very.
it. This is
Mm,
subconscious, and if you're getting this fed to you as a child, you don't
mm,
even know you're not even aware of the concept of your subconscious. Do you know what I mean? You're
yeah,
just going thinking that you're going with the flow, but you're getting programmed. So
yeah,
I think that's why I always say that people who are actively pro-black or for black betterment in
right.
this time they've got it the hardest, because you're trying to de-educate yourself with all the stuff that you'll get fed, and then
Mm,
relearn everything. And then if you have children, trying to teach them a better
mm,
way. So it
yes,
is a
yes,
hard place to be in, and
yes.
not everyone's ready to be there.
Right. There you go. We're welcoming Sister Bay on the panel. Welcome, Sister Bay.
Yeah, hi.
How's it
Hi,
going,
Sister
Sister
Hi.
Bay?
Really interesting subject. I thought I would contribute.
Of
Hi.
course, we look forward to your contribution. There's two topics. Which one would you like to go over, Sister Bay?
It's topic 2. I don't really have much to add to topic 1.
Okay.
Um, I was just like, like that. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie with Tina Turner and Ike, and it's called "What's Love Got to Do with It?" And
Yes.
um, I don't think being pro-black has got anything to do with love. I think
Mm,
I think it's a choice, and I think it's a sacrifice. I think you sacrifice yourself for the greater good. You
mm,
know, so the partner that you choose them primarily because they're black, because you're meant to be building a black community and a black family. You will grow to love them. Yeah, I don't think. Well, I'm not with my partner because
mm,
I love him.
mm.
I'm with him because I respect him, and the
Right.
love grow. I grew to love him. It wasn't about love. It was about him, the person,
Right.
and where he came from. He was a black man. He was from Africa. He was a homegrown African. He was a kind a- and a lovely guy. But it wasn't about that. This Western concept of love. It's
Mm,
what I wanted was a black family, and I wanted a black man. I wanted an African man, and that's what I went for. But it wasn't about love. It's what
mm,
about what I wanted, and I wanted. I don't believe in procreating with the oppressed. I don't. I couldn't see myself fighting white supremacy and then laid up with the white man. I don't.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's a sacrifice because there's plenty of nice looking white men around, but I don't think you can lay up with them and fight white supremacy. Because what I don't understand for myself, and I've noticed black men that have white women who call themselves pro-black, um, they always struggle with it. Is how can you fight white supremacy without being at war with white people? How do you
mm,
divorce white people from white supremacy? Because they're the ones that created the system in the first place.
mm.
So for
Yeah.
me, that's like, and I feel like some people confuse pro-blackness with pro-humanity. Because I know, a lot of black men, I believe that the black man's seed is black. So no matter what women they go with, their child is black. But for me, it's like that opens it up to white women who believe because they went with a black man that they can talk for the black community and they're now black. But
Right.
being with a black person and procreating with a black, it doesn't make you black. But I don't think the emphasis should be on love.
Mm,
I think it's a little bit. I think it's immature. I think it's quite a Western idea because everyone knows what happens when this love thing goes. Then all suddenly, the relationship breaks up or something. I think it's more lust.
yes.
I think
Right.
I mean, like you said, your first, when you were looking for your wife, you consider your wife your business partner.
Mm,
Your first business partner is your wife, and I feel like that is what pro-blackness is based on. I don't think you can't get that with your oppressor. Do you know what I mean? So,
mm.
and
Interesting.
I feel like Sister Kushti said, even though I know black men in my life, I've had black men in my life, I had black teachers, and I remember a black man in my life he was a really respectful guy. He was a good teacher and he taught me a lot about black history. But people did not respect him because he was with a white woman, even though he divorced her, but he was with her, he had children with her. And as I got older, I lost respect for him
Mm,
because you can't talk black and sleep white. And all
mm,
those black civilizations that he was talking about, they weren't built by white women and black men. They were black communities, black man and black woman,
mm,
and you can't start lifting up those communities and telling people about them, and then tell me, oh, you got Becky's on your hand because you can't create that. You can create those people can create a North Africa with a
mm,
multiracial society, but you can't create a black strong black community. If you've got a white woman on your hand, that's a multiracial society. It's a multiracial family. And I think this is a problem. Like you said, you can still, as a black person, you can still care about the embetterment of black people when you're not with a black person. But the very fact that you marry and procreate outside your race, you're building their community too.
Well, let's unpack that, because I read somewhere, and there is that concept where, where if a person of mixed heritage in certain genders in certain places, they're much more like 70 to 90% likely to go with someone from the non-black side. Therefore, meaning in that concept, then that I don't know how that bleeds into black betterment, and I do find it hard for you to be a person to try to tell your offspring, your children, to marry someone who you haven't. That's where you might find some challenges. And like I said, people of mixed heritage, I don't ever approach with any kind of rhetoric or any kind of speech about black betterment. All people of mixed heritage are welcome to practice black betterment under my book, under the things I push. But the emphasis isn't on them, because the emphasis was probably more so on their parents. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to contribute to confusion. And sometimes with people of mixed heritage, already through talking, you find a great confusion, a great pain, and it becomes very hard to manage that. So it's more so them reaching out rather than me reaching in. But once I reach out, there's things people can do to gain betterment. But it is a very tricky thing. But once again, black people are collectively inadequate, and because we're collectively inadequate, as we move forward, we're trying to fix as we walk forward. It's like we're falling down, but we understand the value of falling forward to give the perception of progress. And I think that's where we're at. So it is an interesting thing you've said there. And something else you said that I found very interesting as well was the concept of love. And I've always said that love is something that you build, right? Like it takes time. Like I know love at first sight is the Walt Disney stuff and the Pixar and these kinds of things and that. But really, love is built. Trust and love is built, right? And because love is built, then we can in fact choose who we love, because you're building a relationship. But that's another discussion. Sister Kushti, anything you wanted to add on top of what Sister Beta was saying? Anything at all?
No, I totally agreed with everything Sister Betty said. And I think, that again, it comes back to having clarity, because if that rhetoric is the case where a black man says, well, then, well, I just have a black child anyway, and things like that, that can cause a certain amount of confusion.
Right.
So I did agree with the love factor as well. I think there is different stages of what I think love as well is a personal interpretation as well. But I do believe that there is different factors like growing in that love and building and trust and being with someone with a certain amount of years and having kids and things like that. It just forms a different level than just seeing someone and just thinking that you're in love and the Disney aspect of it. So it is kind of a decision to be made. It is a decision. I don't believe that this whole I didn't have a choice and everything else. I think part of me does believe there is a decision in there, whether you know it or not. There is there's a decision in there, definitely.
Well, we can only speak of our experience, and through me, like do public speaking and debates and stuff. I am approached by quite a few brothers who come with their own rhetoric, and what you do hear that, well, whoever I pick, my child is black, whatever it might be, this kind of stuff. And I think to look at things in that direction is definitely something that isn't towards the betterment of black people. And the reason I say that is because if you think of it like I said earlier, you've got to think of how your actions connect to other actions, isn't it? So if you are a valuable man, you're giving your valuableness to a non-black woman if you identify as a valuable man. And that is part of the progress, isn't it? How we treat the women in our community. Once again, I don't know the individual stories, and maybe people want to come out here and give the individual stories of their perspective. But I would say that in the concept of black betterment, the black woman's needs come first.
Exactly. And if you're going to have a black family, but you don't need a black woman, then that's a contradiction on its own, right? If you're saying, well, I'm still having a black family without a black woman, we look at other races who are doing well for themselves, like in China and things like that. Their examples are very clear cut. Do you know what I mean? It's themselves, themselves, and themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's only us when you look around, or it's just, oh, well, I can use an excuse of this, or oh, well, this, that, and the other. And like you said, it only seems to be us that are just so well in doing that.
Yes.
You know, it's not, it, as well as what we're talking about isn't something that's different either. There's plenty of other nations who naturally choose their own. 90% of them choose their own. When they look at their leaders and their own celebs and everything else, they're with their own.
Yeah.
So this ain't this. I don't know, when it comes to us, this concept is so, you know, people who think like this, they get almost scrutinized. They even get accused of racism, and you know, it's just, somehow it's outside of the box when you look around the world, and actually they're all practicing it naturally as well. You know, it's naturally done.
I think the Chinese were known for doing that. After the British got them addicted to opium, they locked down China, and there's a little island called the Adamant Island where there's little black people who just look African, but they're not. They say they're one of the first people to leave the African continent, and they had some Indians come because it's in the Indian Ocean, so India controls the island. So the Indians and men had come. They're meant to protect these little black people, and then they'd been, having sexual relations with the women, and children were conceived. And these people are very hostile. They're very, very hostile. They don't want outsiders in their society. So when those children are born that are half Indian and half of these Andaman Islands, the child is killed. Yeah. And the man is killed. They don't play games. Yeah. And similar to what China did as well, that if you want something and you say that this, you want your society, you want black and betterment, you want this and want that, there's sacrifices that are made. You know what I mean? Your heart has to be in it. And I think the black men that say that they are pro-black, or the black men that say they're pro-black with a partner that is not black, their heart is not in it. Even when you look at West Africa and you look at the stories when they say that the white man was not allowed into the interior of Africa. And there's a story of Timbuktu when a Frenchman dressed himself up in the traditional, the turban, and the robes. And when he was found, he was killed because they knew that, one, they probably knew that these white folk had bad intentions, but it was about protecting their society. The life of a revolutionary is short. It's very rare that a revolutionaries live until old age. And I would like they say, a black love is a revolutionary act. Not everybody's heart is in it. Not everybody's prepared to make the sacrifices that are needed. And that's all right too. If your heart is not in it, that's all right too. But don't try and play like your heart is in it and then attack people whose heart is really in it. Because like you said, like Kush, you said, I'm getting fed up with people saying that, you don't choose who you love. You do. You know what I mean? Because like when I've had the chance to be with a white man, I've had white men approach me and thought, oh well, this person's a nice person, we get on. Then I thought, but you're still the same white people that created this white supremacy. For all you good white people, you never stopped the wicked white people from creating it. And that's what's always stopped me. I thought, nah, I don't need to deal with this.
Yeah, well, I don't.
The good white people don't stop the good. The bad white people.
Some points there, she does raise some points there. That is, I think, that part made me laugh. But also, the fact that she said that the black love is a revolutionary act. It is. It really is. Like, even like when I go out with my partner and we're going out with the kids or something, the amount of people that stop us who are black, especially like elders, and say, "Oh, I love to see it." And like, I recently just had my baby girl, and we had to go to a herbal shop to get some, like, just some drops and stuff. And when we walked into the shop, she's very new. Like, she's not even 2 weeks. So when we walked into the shop, there was another white woman behind us with a young child, and a black woman literally stopped everything and was like, "I love to see it, new life, lovely." And it was only like probably us three were the only black people in there, me, my partner, and her, and then obviously the little ones. And she just had to say it, and that's a constant. We're going to like the shops, the supermarket, things like that. People stop and literally just look at us and like, "I love to see it, keep it up." You know, and there's this kind of acknowledgement with people, you know, with the same kind of mentality that you can't explain, you can't not. If you're in it, yeah, exactly, you get it, and it constantly happens. It's like people of that mindset, they love to see it, they cheer it on, they would broadcast it. You know, we weren't the only ones in there with a young child. But we were the only black couple in there, and this one black woman literally just said it out loud. "Oh, look, a new life, brilliant, love to see it, keep it up, we go shopping and things like that." And you know what I mean? It's that kind of nod that you give to each other, you know? So,
because you face so much adversity as a black couple in a white supremacist society. There's a lot of adversity, you know, not everybody makes it, you know, to the finish line.
I think for me, what I always try to do, and with the lifestyle and philosophy of Black Betterment, it really is taking everything and it's inward looking. So the priority of the group is to talk about the needs of each other. So I never need to define why I might not be with a certain type of person or why I don't promote certain kinds of, because right now I've started this collective, this concept by saying that after much research, black people, the way we are operating is collectively inadequate. So all the solutions are coming from in the group. So I can't then say, I won't go with this or that, the third, because you have to have priority. And I think one of the challenges black people have is we don't seem to understand priority, right? So a black man, when it comes to a family, his priority must be the black woman, right? And if he finds himself not being able to be with a black woman, then that concept needs to be reviewed. We need to understand what is happening when this individual feels they can't be with a black woman. And that's what one of the stuff of the show is trying. If a person feels that way, what is going on in the back of the mind in society where this is the outcome? And I think people use things like white supremacy and all this kind of stuff. But I think white supremacy and being collectively inadequate and the connection between being collectively inadequate and white supremacy will come up. And I think, and I know it's a strong word to use, and I try not to use it all the time, but a concept of loyalty, like what does loyalty really mean, right? Now, if you break down loyalty, like who are you loyal to, right? And why are you loyal? Is there a value in being loyal to Black Betterment? You see, is there a value in trying to improve a community who are coming from the legacy of complete devastation and in the day-to-day actions manifest as truth? You see, that is why when you Google pro-Black, the biggest conversation is, can a pro-Black person have a European partner, or is a pro-Black person going to hate a European or a white person? So that really shows you the priority. It really shows you the mindset. So that's why it's so important for me that we establish Black on Black solutions, meaning that all we're doing is we understand priority and the starting point. So I never need to talk about chapter 8, chapter 9 of other options, because the first priority is Black man and Black woman. That's the first priority, right? So we are now at the 11 o'clock hour, so we have 1 more hour. Thank you, sister. And like I said, the link for people out there is in the group. You might disagree, and this show, if you disagree, we want to give you a platform to speak. It might be a slight disagree, it might agree from a slight different angle, and this is fine. One of the great challenges we're trying to push here is a way for Black people to communicate without contributing to anxiety. And also, we understand that people have difference of opinions, and you're always welcome. We want to make this as conducive and as constructive as possible. So the link is in the group. I'll post it one more time. Let's see if I copied it. There it is. Voila. And you're always welcome to come in. We can always try to adapt rules around people joining. So if you only want to talk to one person, or you just want to have a monologue, by all means, let me know. But the idea of this broadcast is for Black people to help Black people on Black issues. And we don't have all the answers, but we're going to work together as a collective to find it. And let's say that if no one else is doing it, at least we're doing that here. So here's a starting point. Now, sisters, we're actually in Women's Month. There's the last couple of weeks, maybe might be the last week. I'm not too sure. I have to check the calendar. But is there do you have any opinions on, and you don't have to, on the concept of topic 1, as in, like, is there any blame from any observation that you might place on a Black woman in the outcome of a son? And I suspect this goes into a bigger conversation. At all, would you say not so much? And maybe blame's a strong word. I don't know.
I think any mother, any child that you ever have, you must take a responsibility for them as a child. But once they hit adulthood and become a man, then they take on the responsibilities themselves. But I think the only thing for me is that there's a lot of misogyny where Black women get a lot of the blame for the problems in the Black community, especially with sons. And a lot of Black children are raised by their mothers, and the emphasis doesn't seem to be on the men that have left. I know some men die, but some of these men have either left or they've gone to prison, and a lot of fathers just don't take the responsibility. I don't believe that a woman can raise a son into manhood. Most of the boys I know that didn't have their fathers around and have ended up being normal, if their father wasn't around, they had an uncle, a granddad, a neighbor that took on that male role that the father who wasn't there, because the mother could not do that. So the men that I know are normal is because they had a substitute father. That's what I'm saying. But I think you have to take on a certain amount of responsibility. I can't tell you about percentages, but I can definitely say that, of course, a mother must take on certain responsibilities for her son's well-being.
Right.
Whether it's financial, paying for education, making sure they grow up in a secure home, etc., etc., etc. But I can't tell you about percentages.
So let me jump in. Like, some complaints, and some I've observed myself, to be honest, in some areas, is and this is obviously, a Black woman might not be aware of this because her being a woman. Some people might feel that some Black women, they might protect their son too much, or put less emphasis on them doing certain kind of manhood growing behavior and stuff. Independent behavior. Let me say independent behavior. Where they have someone looking after them, and they're not given any kind of like chores or any kind of like pathway to prove themselves. And I've many sisters do tell me this from when they observe their brothers and sisters and stuff, and that's something that I think the area that I come into, and obviously a Black woman can't necessarily know, some of how it is to be a man and stuff, but there is definitely something that needs to be brought up about allowing your son to try to become a man, and that is by giving actual things to do, giving chores, rewards, achievements, having them take full responsibility of things in the house, understanding the concept of what a provider would be, a protector would be. If you have a son, and this is not to point fingers, we're always talking about negative aspects because we're trying to find solutions for them. And of course, in the community, this is not the representation of all, but we must bring it up. You know, if a boy is harming women, then he hasn't learned that the role of protection and that role of using your manliness, your size, your what you have to as an advantage to protect black women rather than harm them. Now, obviously, that's something that a black man should tell a black son, but but by being collectively inadequate in some areas, some households might not have a black man, which is a topic for, I guess, the men's section, right? But they, in the current time, we have to have awareness of what we lack, and I think, giving black boys that grounding and that in that young age where you can control them, where you are physically bigger than them, and they are coming to you for guidance, letting them know that at a certain time you're gonna have certain expectations. You're gonna have to have certain things that you have to achieve and be consistent in. And then by that consistency that goes on day to day, week to week, month to month, when you leave here, you have to preserve that on your own. You have to maintain that. You know. So these are the things. But I'm sure other people have their own testimonies if they want to join, if not. But that's where that kind of goes. That's where what I interpret that. But the people who push this topic forward, they would probably know more about how they see it, or maybe they just want to start a conversation amongst people. I don't know, but that's how I would. That's my area of interest in that particular topic. Here we go. We got a question from Brother Carl. The economic aspect of not building an institution and maintaining the household is the man's job. However, when it comes to the image and behavior of the black woman, she must take responsibility. Okay, so what Brother Carl is saying there is that when it comes to like maintaining the household, being providers on, and building some kind of frameworks to keep things going in the community. The expectation is for men to maybe lead on that particular initiative. However, when it comes to how people behave in public collectively, I believe, and the overall image of a black woman, this is something that women should control. And I think that might correlate with men and women, because men and women don't necessarily want men to dictate how they should be. But when the women are controlling that, there is a value in trying to be presented as constructive and as possible, So, any opinions on that, sisters, at all? Anything at all?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'll start with what the Brother Cal said. I think that's a pretty. I think I agree with that as a textbook. But as we know, there's a bit of an issue with the fathers in the household in our society. So if he's not there, then he's not going to be able to do that. It leans on the woman doing that. I think when he says that, in regards to taking care of the household and things like that, I think when he says that, the image of a woman, I think that's quite interesting, because I think then you look to your mother or the first woman in your life, who's your mother or your sister, things like that, as maybe a guideline as the type of woman that you would have or marry and things like that. So in that aspect, a lot of that responsibility is on the woman, especially if you have a boy child and you want him to marry a certain type of woman. You need to show what kind of woman that is. So he just has that as a default, and that's what he just expects in a woman. On the topic question, I think that yes, I think sometimes women, because I know that this was brought up on the last topic, last week's show, that was highlighted on some of the sisters on there. I do agree with a lot of what they said, that that overcompensating is an issue. Using excuses for certain behaviour is an issue. Low expectations is an issue. And all of that could affect the child then growing, who will eventually become a man. I know that you mentioned what happened in, I think it was New York, where the sistering, that could have been anybody, anyone who's done a hard days of work, going into a shop and just wanting a nice glass of wine or Prosecco or whatever it is, and then the gentleman just coming up to you and being like, "Do you want me to pay for that?" And you respectively say, "No, I'm good." You're not rude. You're just minding your business. You're probably shattered after a day's work. Just want to get your bottle of wine, pay for it, and go home. And then it ended up having that done to you straight away. Is a bad example. Things like that where you can't deal with rejection or this kind of entitlement and this kind of sport culture. That's not anything to do with what I consider as a man. I think as well that I'm very cautious of calling my son the man of the house. Like, I don't do that. The most I'll probably call him is a little man, but I don't call him the man of the house, because he's not the man of the house. He's a boy. And to be a man, it has certain attributes, and you have to have gone through certain things. And if you just give that title to a child, then what does he have to do to be a man? He's already a man at 5, 6. Like, it's like, first, can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. Man at 6 and it cut for a second.
Okay, so I'm saying that, like, if you have a child at 6, 5, really young, you're just calling them the man of the house, that speaks volumes. Because what do you have to do to be a man? You just need to have that genitalia in between your legs to be a man. And I think that's not the case. You have to go through certain adversities. You have to have a certain amount of maturity and things like that. So I do think sometimes women do facilitate it, but I don't think it's 100% a woman, because you need a man. You need a man as a guideline, as an example, and things like that. But there is aspects where women do contribute to that issue. Because it's just overcompensation. I don't think that you're aware of it, but I think looking at the history and things that we've seen within our culture, we know we should be learning from it instead of redoing the same patterns. And I think those kind of things are just not helping at all with the growth of a king. As a black man, as a fully rounded, wholesome black man is like a king. It's such a I think you're almost taking away something that's so great if you're not trying to make him see that in himself. A whole rounded black man is to me worth 10 of anyone else. So why are we not encouraging that? Just because you've got a different genitalia between your legs does not make you a man. Like, he's still a boy. You have to go through certain things in order to be a man, and then once you get to that point of a man, then you can be in that all that glory and claim that title, and you've earned it. And that's why we used to have things like rites of passage and things like that, where boys would go through certain adversities so they could see within themselves, actually, you know what, I can do this. I've just been through that. Actually, I've got the confidence to do this. I know that I can do this. So just being born a certain sex does not make you a man. It makes you a male, it makes you a boy, but it does not make you a man. So I think that, just giving these titles willy-nilly, just giving them excuses, just letting them to get away with it, it's actually giving them a disservice. You'd really want to raise your son to show him and groom him to be all that they can be, especially if you're living in the Western society, because you can't get away with what the next man can get away with. They really need to learn discipline and learn how to just hold their own, have inner confidence. Because if you don't have any of that, you're not going to get away with what the next man gets away with. And the example in New York, that just, that's just disgusting. That's not a man at all. You had one bit of rejection, and the poor woman walks out with that one eye, bites, beaten up, and do you know what I mean? Like, that's we can't be doing that.
The real problem of that. The real problem of that situation, and I believe it was done by more than one person. It was maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. As a lone, challenging person, whatever, we can say, okay, they slip through the cracks, whatever. When you have people who work in unison and this is normalized, and then they were saying that this behavior was perpetuated weeks upon weeks and stuff, then we have an issue there. I mean, we have to remember that, all around the world, different cities, different things happen. And I would say that, yes, although, you're going to find these stuff, but I like to think of stories as well where we saw people stepping up. And I think there was that story of the the gentleman who, well, I'm not going to say gentleman in this context, but there was an individual who was actually trying to molest a young child in England, London somewhere, and the sister saw him. And I think upon seeing that and putting the video up, there was a whole lot of men going to the house of the guy trying to find him.
They went to the house and they were looking, and that again, that's a beautiful example of masculinity, of healthy masculinity. You know, taking a responsibility, making a stand. Even what happened in New York after that, subsequently, there was a rally with, and the majority of them were men. You know, even when I saw this protest, I really was keen to see how much of them were black men, and there were black men out there just saying, you know, that's not going to be tolerated. Where does he live? Let's root him out himself. We need to get him before the police get them, which was the same mentality over here. And they were black and they were within our community. And that's the kind of thing that you do want to glorify and you want to see. And we need more emphasis in and more publicity in that, because I couldn't believe that although there was the hashtag, I never saw that. I had to go searching for that. It was only because of certain pages that I followed that I saw that. Again, the same with in London. It's only because we're in certain circles or we're in certain WhatsApp groups and stuff like that that we saw that was publicised. We never saw that on the news. We saw the fact that this girl got molested on the news. We saw that. We never saw what subsequently happened within that community where real black men, real kings stood up and said, actually, you know what, that ain't going to be tolerated. So it just kind of shows you.
Can I just mention, I'm not too sure, I've not heard about this story that you're talking about, but going back to what Raven said, I think what Raven was explaining was when people say that they raise their daughters and they love their sons, in terms of boys not being given, like you say, chores, to clean their room, to go and wash their car, clean the dishes, lay their bed. But the girls are doing it, and the boys just sitting there chilling on Xbox. Yeah. And I do, and that's just basically loving your son and not raising your daughter. And I think there's a difference between the man child and being a man, like Kushti was saying. They are men who are physically look like men, but mentally they're like little boys. They're man child, yeah. And like you said, they've not had that rites of passage. But like Raven said, it is important that boys learn responsibility. They learn how to look after themselves, clean, cook. You know, all these things need to be done because they're life skills. And many black women, whether it's because they've had a bad relationship and their partner's left or whatever, they do sort of over love their sons and keep them babies so they don't become responsible men. But their daughters, they're so harsh on their daughters.
Yeah, I mean, is this? I mean, do you know of friends and families like who practice this? And also, should boys be washing dishes? Should boys be learn how to cook? Should boys be learn how to clean the rooms and stuff? Is this something that you think is very valuable?
Yeah, my partner, he can cook, he can clean, he can do it all. Do you know what I mean? I'm not, there's no way if I ever have a son that you're not going to be doing that. Do you know what I mean? There's no way. And I'm not here to be like, wiping your bum until you hit 18. Do you know what I mean? If your dad can do it, why can't you? There's plenty of men that know how to cook. It's just here. I don't know because because I know a lot. I don't know what it's like in the Caribbean culture, but I know in Africa there's actually a lot of African men know how to cook. So I don't really understand the Western idea that the boys just sit there and they do nothing, because it's not really like that. In Africa, there actually a lot of boys have to get up and do things because they don't have all these machines about to do the things that need to be done. So here, because the machines do everything, don't they? There's a dishwasher, there's a washing machine, but in Africa, a lot of these machines don't exist. So boys do have choice, because if they don't, nothing will get done. You've got like 20 chickens that need feeding. Your son has to get up and do it. You've got to clean the chicken coop. Do you know what I mean? It's a different, when it comes to African men, especially if you're in the village, if you come from the village, maybe not so much if you came from the city. But you got to do something. You got camels, you got goats, all that. There's no way you can let your son just sit there. Who is going to tend to all those animals? It's going to be your son. Maybe you will give the girls the chickens. But all this chilling that they do here in the West doesn't happen in Africa and those very, like, what they call third world countries. The boys have to get up and do something. If you don't get up and do it, you're not going to eat because your parents can't do it. You know, they need help.
Absolutely, because they've got, more than likely, they've got a lot of kids as well, so they can't do everything. That's why you give out the responsibilities for them to do it. So I do agree with that. I think that's the case for both African and Caribbean culture. Like when you go to the local jerk stand and things like that, majority of them in Jamaica that I can speak of anyways, they are men. And I can speak of on my African side, it's the same thing. My dad could cook, you know, whether or not he'd need to, because, you know, majority of the times it'd be the mum doing it. But if she's giving birth or she has to go or work or whatever, the kids ain't gonna go hungry because the man don't know how to cook. That's not gonna happen. So you know, I think it's definitely more of a Western concept, and it's alienated to us as a people. To be honest with you, it makes no sense.
It doesn't, because it makes life really hard and difficult. You know, it's like, I think it's because they've got so many cities as well in the West. Because, like, you know, like if you're in the village in Nigeria and you want to eat goat meat, you want to have jollof and goat meat. Well, you see that goat, you're not going to get it in the supermarket. You're going to go and buy that goat, and someone's got to kill it, skin it. Who's going to do it? The boy's got to do it, or the man. You got to do it. If you want to eat goat tonight, you better roll up your sleeves.
That's right.
But you know, here people go to the supermarket. Oh, let's go to the butcher and get that goat meat. They don't need to get their hands dirty because there's already another man that will do it.
Absolutely, and that's why they had that issue a few years back. The kids didn't even know.
Well, I think you might have muted yourself, Sister Kushi, by mistake.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, like a few years ago, there was that issue where they realised a lot of the Western kids didn't understand what the beef that they were eating came from a cow. You know, they couldn't comprehend that you have to kill this animal to get the beef burger or whatever you're eating. So it's just, they're so disconnected because they just see it all packaged, cut up, skinned out. You know, you don't see any of the bits in there. You know, it's all cleaned, but they had no concept. Whereas Sister Betty was saying, you know exactly where that meat has come from. You know, you've pulled it, you know, you've gutted it out, you've cleaned it. So yeah, that again is alienated. You have to worry about things like that.
Do you think that might bleed into other areas in the sense of, if you grow up and someone's always cooking for you, someone's always cleaning for you, someone's always, you know, driving you around, what it might be, the concept of being alone and having to do it for yourself might not even compute. Like there are many people, they say that when they move out, they move back in after a couple of weeks. And you know, could that also be, you know, a reason why you want to give your children some kind of chores to do so they don't get used to that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, and again, it's a disservice. It's like another form of neglect because you're not giving them their life skills. So what are you really doing? Like when you really love your child, it's not just loving and spoiling them. You're giving them the tools in order for them to succeed in life. If they can't cook for themselves, or they rely on someone else to constantly cook for them, it's not set that individual up.
Well, let's try to tackle something that Brother Carl was mentioning in the group as well. I'll read that. He says, the loving of the sons and the raising daughters to be leaders comes from a European blueprint and it's not Pan-Africanism. My question for the African queens on the panel has Pan-Africanism alpha male? Is that part one? Oh, become threatening for the African female. So has Pan-Africanism alpha male become? All right. So I guess what he's saying is, I think Carl's making Brother Carl's doing a connection where, and let me just put in this let me put in this kind of stance. Let's say it's a byproduct, right? So if your son isn't doing anything, anything of any value in the house, and he's getting used to a life of ease, and your daughter is seeing the importance of structure, the importance of commitment, and also the importance of education, right? Naturally, you are building someone with a better leadership quality than the other person, right? And could that be a contributing factor from some element of why there might not be as many male, led based initiatives on certain aspects? I think maybe that's where Carl was going. Well, that was a question to anyone in response to that, as in like the byproduct of that kind of behavior when it comes to leadership and that kind of stuff. Become a threat for everyone.
I'm just reading what the brother said, and for me,
Yeah.
I think what he's saying is that when he says loving the sons and raising the daughters to be leaders comes from the European blueprint, and it's not Pan-Africanism. My question, Queens, is has Africanism alpha male? So, and he says that is it threatening for the female, as in, like
Does it
basically what
mean
he's saying
like
is
the
that
dominating ones? Is that what he means? I don't really understand the question. Does he mean like those? Have you heard of those Hotep, the pro-black men, and the Hotep, pro-black men, and the Hotep men? The Americans call it those black men that are supposed to be all about Africanism, but they're just pro-black men. They're quite domineering, the alpha male. They're not there for the black women. They're there to raise up the black man. Is that what he means?
I think what he means is, well, go to his question. You might have a better understanding. Go ahead, sorry.
I think what he's saying is basically the Western European, and he can feel free to come on. I don't mind if he wants to come and clarify. But I think what he means is that basically the European side of things is more about pushing the woman to be the leader, and is it a threat for the for the black or the African woman to have an alpha male now? And I don't think that it is. I think that I agree with him on certain sense in regards to that in the Western world. But when we're talking about the African woman, I think that she naturally is used to the male to be quite alpha. That's what was just said, that how he can, just because he can cook does not mean that he cannot lead his household. It does not mean that he's always in the kitchen cooking. It means that he has a holistic upbringing where he's not inadequate in certain areas. It means that he can see when there's a balance, and yes, he can lead the household. I don't think, from my point of view, I don't see a black man not leading his household. I think what the question here is that the fact that they're inadequate at certain times, and has a woman got responsibility in that? So I think there's two separate things, but I do not believe, from my point of view, that an alpha male is, well, I don't like the word alpha anyways, but I think that's quite a Western concept anyway, because I think the person who came up with that was looking at a bunch of monkeys and decided to say who's alpha and beta and all that, and then he retracted and realized that they were all siblings anyway. So I mean, again, I think that's best. I think I get what he means, that basically that, is the woman, is the now African woman scared to have a leader as a male? And I don't think so. I think we welcome that. I think we welcome a man who can hold down a household, who can provide for a household. And if it comes down to it, because the woman's doing something else as a team member, he can just he can cook or do something like that. Or if something needs doing, he can do that. But if his role is mainly to take care of the household and protect is a big thing. I think if you're talking about people who talk about alpha and things like that, I think it's protecting, it's maintaining a household, it's providing. I don't see many black women who's going to be against that, especially in the pro-black or Betterment community.
Thank you, Sister Kushti, for explaining it, because I misunderstood what Kale was trying to say. But what I would say is that a community is based on a family, and there's no man that leads a house without a woman. Yeah? So there's no man leading no house. It's a partnership. You don't see a man on his own. Yeah? So that's how the system works. There's no man that got on this planet without a woman. Yeah. So a family is a man, a woman, and the children. It's not just a man with the children.
Mm.
It's a
In fact,
partnership. It's not one or he's not elevated. When you see the queen and the king sit together, the king's chair is not higher than the queen. They're in concert with each other. They're on the same level. They're complementing each other. It's a partnership. It's not a dictatorship.
yeah, that's fact. When we look to our histories and we look at when we look at the artifacts and things like that, that is shown over and over again for thousands and thousands of years that the man is right next to the woman. It's not back in Greece where you got two men and a boy. It's not about a man and a boy. It's equally a woman and the man who equally standing there together. And behind every great man, there is a great woman. So just because he might be there talking or he might be there loud, don't think that they're helping him or writing his speech or making sure he's good or he's not going over it with her at night and things like that. Definitely what Sister Betty said. It's a partnership. They complement each other. You know, just because he might be there at the forefront, you might see him working, does not mean that she's not there helping him do it at all. We need to remember that, because this is what I'm saying. That sometimes we can slip into Western mentality without even knowing it.
Yeah, because the Western society is a very patriarchal society. You know, that's why they always talk about men in leadership, and that's why it's always men in
Hello?
leadership. Patriarchal. Kushti, you all right? Did you lose your connection again?
Oh,
Kushti?
not right. Carry on, Sister Bay. I'm sure she'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is what I think. Because I think this is the issue. I think people need to be careful the language you use and the terminology you use, because obviously they are patriarchal societies in Africa, but they are also matriarchal societies as well. And I prefer the matriarchal societies. I'm not, but I just feel like it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be a competition.
Mhm.
It's a partnership. I need you, you need me. Let's build. Let's be together. Do you know what I mean? Not all this like, like sometimes I will drive, sometimes my partner drives. Man is just chilling on his phone. You know what I mean? Sometimes man want rest. I can take over because I know how to drive. Sometimes because my partner used to be a chef, sometimes I'll just come in and he's just cooking, and the way he's chopping those onions, I'm like, you know what, let me just go and get my knife and fork and sit down. Do you know what I mean? Because it's nice to have a man cook for you, because it's a partnership. I'm not trying to compete with him in the kitchen. Like saying this is a woman's office. You get out of there. You know what I mean. It's a partnership. Let's do things together. You know what I mean. It's not about the alpha male. A woman being threatened by an alpha male. No strong woman is threatened by a strong man, because they're gonna work together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's something to be said that women lack they lack masculinity. So why would I infringe on that? Why would I try and shut that down? I don't want to be with a man and all the essence of a man, then I would go with the opposite sex. Do you know what I mean? So obviously I'm going to want that. So why am I going to be there, like knocking him down, beating it out of him? It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we have to understand how things are connected. So if you have a son, and the assumption is that at a certain point he's going to potentially live on his own and move out, whether he's in education or finds his own place, then he will be on his own. So what skills has he learned while he was with a family that allows him to become adequate whilst living on his own, where he isn't dependent on someone else for his upkeep? These are the things that some of the skills that hopefully we all can learn while we are around people who know better. But just to what Brother Cal was saying, Cal was well, she was saying is like for Queen's panel, I'm sorry, European blueprint is Paragon. My question about African Queen's panel: has Paragon alpha male become threatening? Right. So I guess the question is saying that: do you feel that by some men becoming very leadership based? And I guess you ladies did answer this in the question of saying that there is a partnership, and that is a good answer. And in a partnership, there is no competition because you're both scoring in the same goal, right? You know, you're both of equal importance on the game, but you're playing different positions at different times.
Yeah, and I think you swap roles as well. You don't always stay in the same role anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to be very particular with what we're saying. So, what I always say is, when I talk, I always give examples because sometimes words confuse people. So, I always talk about templates. So the templates I always give for men and women is, if you're in a park, right, and then you're eating, and it's you, your wife, and your daughter or your son, right, and as you're eating, a bear comes along to eat the entire family. The nature that usually happens is perhaps the man gets up, and as the man gets up, he tries to scare the bear or confuse the bear or distract the bear, while the woman picks up the child and runs to safety. And then the man goes and tries to get safety after he's aware the wife and the daughter is safe. That is the template, right? In certain situations, you might get a wife who's actually a bear hunter, and so in that particular situation, maybe it might be more sense for her to do something. I don't know. But as a template, and when it comes to impulse, there is a biological reality of why that makes more sense. The child is too young to understand what's going on. The mother is able to escape at a faster rate, and the husband is bigger and can take more damage than the actual child, as well as the woman. So these are the certain things. These are the certain, reasons when it comes to biology and positioning of why certain roles might have been chosen. But there's certain roles that people can easily interchange, right? Depending on time, effort, and all the rest of it. So I think sometimes defining what the expectation and what the roles are and the reason behind them might make these conversations much more easier.
Yeah, and I've got with Brother Kel's just questions, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that he might have those stances or whatever. He just posed a question and he was respectful of the question and stuff. So there's no problem in asking questions to a panel. But I will say as well that there is a time as well where black men would want a woman who has got like heart, who is a bit of a lioness, because say for example the woman's just taking her kids to the park, and I've seen examples of it where there's a shady guy just looking at kids and things like that. You don't want a docile woman that just too scared to do anything or something like that. You want a woman that's going to stand up and be like, what are you doing here? Stay away from my kids. You want a lioness in that scenario. You would want a lioness in that scenario.
Let me jump in. And to just add to that situation, the case we were talking about before with the man who was trying to abuse a young girl, it was actually a woman and her mother who saw him and rumbled him and got her phone out and started shouting. So there is that case there.
Absolutely. She questioned him. She didn't just allow the stupid answer of, oh, that's my sister. She asked the child. She took the child away from him. They all both they both showed their lioness qualities in that. That is attributed to black women, and you saw that in plain sight. And thank God for that. You don't want a docile, passive woman in that scenario. That doesn't mean that she has to act like that in every single occasion. But most times, most solid black men that I know want a woman who can stand up. If he's not there for any other reason, he can be sure that his kids are fine. This is another level of picking your mate, right? You have to be sure that no matter what, yours is fine. Yours is good.
Now, sisters, we'd like to welcome Brother Carol. His phone might have let him down. Right, so unfortunately, I'm sure he might return in some time.
Welcome, Brother Carol.
He'll return again, I'm assuming. His phone let him down. But what I would say,
I also mention the difference in women, because when you say the alpha male, have to wonder if you're going on that concept. There's also the alpha female, and a classic example of the alpha female would be the Fon warriors of Dahomey that fought the French army and scalped them. You know, the king would enroll women who like were disobedient to their husband or whatever, and they were women warriors. And the French really feared them. The French soldiers stopped and they said, "Oh, it's a woman. Should I kill her?" And they lost their head. So, you know, if you're going to pigeonhole, if you're going to put men in a pigeonhole and say that they're alpha males, don't forget that by that philosophy, there's also alpha females. You don't honestly think that every woman just sat at home and never fought on the battlefield or fought a war. And the fun women were known for that all over history. They are. There's a spot. Is it Is it Spartacus, that place where the women fought as well in Greece? They're all over the world. They are women warriors. You couldn't just sit there and wait on a man. The men are not always available. Yeah, sometimes you have to get up and fight yourself, regardless of whether you're a woman or not. You're gonna have to find your balls, find those ovaries, and do what needs to be done. Joan of Arc. That's one of the famous ones. Do you know what I mean? Seriously, you have to remember that not all women are the same. Sometimes it's time you have to get on the field. As someone like a Yaya Santiwa, was she not a warrior when the men of Ashanti didn't want to fight the British? If you wait on sometimes, if especially as a black woman, if you look at African history, if African women had waited on African men to go on the battlefield, the society would have been overrun and gone. Because some of them weren't man enough to do the job.
So I think what I'm hearing from this is that, you know, there are interchangeable skills that both males and females can have, and knowing when to use them and knowing when you're in a partnership is key. And knowing when to let someone else lead in one area and allow someone else to assist in that area. I think, you know, but I guess what we're talking about is in that young time, what are we teaching the children so they know they can have these skills to know when they can turn them on and turn them off, you know? And that's the value. Unfortunately, brother Carl's phone is letting down, so he might not. He hasn't been able to get back on. But I'm sure if he has anything he wants to say, he can put in the group. Now, everyone, we have maybe 15 minutes left. So if anyone else wants to jump in now, it is. So with this being Women's Week, and we have two black women guests on the panel. By all means, within these last 15 minutes, if you wish to expand any topic or bring a new topic in, by all means, you can do it now. So if there's anything else you'd like to quickly bring up in these last 15, now would be definitely the time to do it. Any questions in the forum as well?
One of the things that I think would be a good show, because since we're talking about pro-black and black love, is I'd like to talk about the experience that I've had of sexual harassment by white men, and some of the harassment that I've had when I was living in the Netherlands. Yeah, I think, you know, interracial relationships are romanticized, and you know there's a lot of propaganda. You know, black women are constantly told that a black man is nothing. Don't bother waiting on him. He can't do nothing. Do you know what I mean? Go and get yourself a white man and stuff like that. But I think the role of, you know, the harassment and how white men fetishize black women, you know, the amount of prostitution of African women into Europe, and how that, you know, it goes right back to slavery, doesn't it? And how white men see black women, and when black women are in spaces that are very white, that you're in danger. I feel like people underestimate, you know, the danger that you can face when you go into those very white societies, and how white men really see black women.
Well, by all means, yeah, your experience is very important. If you're saying that you at one point you want to cover, you know, black women being, harassed by European men in different countries and stuff. Then, of course, yeah, we can discuss that. And also, maybe what we mentioned there, like telling black women to not be with black men, and maybe highlighting some of the challenges black men have, and ignoring some of the challenges that non-black men have, but that they don't make it apparent. I don't know, that might be something we can cover definitely. Yeah. We can always push that forward. Oh, you can talk about that experience anytime you like, I guess. Yeah, definitely. So as I can see, we have 15 minutes left, guys. So we are going to be wrapping up the show. But if there's anything else you two sisters would like to say, by all means, now is your time. Just anything you'd like to wrap up on that with? Well, let me find.
It was a good chat on the topics. It's a shame I could see Brother Cal trying to get it twice, so it's a shame that his internet wasn't connected for him.
Right.
I think that's the topic that he raised, especially if you have travelled around Europe, which I have done in the last couple of years, and I've noticed different attitudes between black women that has made me question some things from our white counterparts, or even just the way they approach with the with just certain stereotypes of black women, thinking that they're a savior or something like that. I've noticed that recently, and I'm quite strict with that. So yeah, that is quite a topic to tackle. I think just because of my experience as well with childbirth and what's been happening, I would like a topic maybe on childbirth as well for black women, because I do think that it needs to be taken more seriously. I mean, if there's no birth or women are dying or children are dying, then that's not going to be that's not going to be helping with our betterment. To touch into that, and for different women to talk about their experiences, I think is needed as well.
Thanks, Susan. And just further push forward. Definitely, the views and opinions of black women is needed. And even though when we go into when we are no longer in a Black Woman Month, that doesn't mean that the topics ain't going to be black women centered. I mean, it could go on forever the way it works. But what I would say is definitely the opinions of black women are important, and also definitions and getting to understand goals and purpose, because I think when we have our goals and purpose articulated, then it gives us a better pillar to sit on. Just like this week's show, we were talking about, pro-black the word and what it means, and lowering the bar because, or just to make things more comfortable sounding, to give people more options in what they want to do. And I think let us try to work together and have definitions and have these conversations, so we can interject purpose and have a pillar to stand off, so we have a firm foundation. And I think that's one important thing we want to do. But definitely we want to always let black women know that moving forward, your opinions matter, and we definitely want to create a situation where we're constantly talking. And some of the topics might be very hard hitting, and by all means you can contact me directly and have a conversation with me directly, and we can find a way to present certain information that allows people to talk about it and to get the most out of each topic. Yeah, communication is key. But yeah, so I guess that's that, sister. So if that is your final words, I'll just like to say bye to everyone, and we'll see you next week. And just email me or WhatsApp me or message me or put in the comments any kind of topics you want to talk about. And we'll hopefully we'll go there. We'll go there. But remember what I said about concepts, in it. Like, there's something you are. For example, if you are trying to fix black issues and black community, there is a value in black men valuing black women, and vice versa. And that should be the priority. That should be the concept, the idea. And that is what we should be leading with. But we definitely want to entertain any other opinions, and we can definitely discuss, other opinions. But from Rap Raven and the panel, thank you very much, and I'll check you guys next week. And that's that. Thank you very much, everyone.
Blessings.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and